Hello everyone, how's it going? Nick here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to sound like Bring Me the Horizon, Architects, Memphis May Fire, Annisokay, and all those amazing modern bands. Stick around. So, quick disclaimer, this is not going to be one of those videos where I break down one of their songs. This is going to be how I use different elements from each band to get inspiration to write the music for my band's album Phases. In this particular episode, I'm going to be breaking down the song called Off Stars. You can check the whole song on the links, cards, description, whatever. And then what I'm going to show you is going to be how each section of the song has different influences. Either that's songwriting influences or like sound influences or production influences. So let's dive into the project and see all of that in action, right? So in this list here you can see I have a lot of names of artists or songs that inspired me for this song, and you can see that other than the metal bands that I previously mentioned, there's a lot of artists that aren't metal at all, like Halsey, Justin Bieber, Post Malone, Nothing Nowhere. Am I missing anybody? Yeah, I think these are the main artists. I might be forgetting someone. I'm probably forgetting someone. But these are the main artists that inspired me to write this song. And I'm gonna show you exactly how each artist inspired me to do something in this song. So I'm not going to show you the whole song. If you want to take a listen to the whole song, go ahead and listen to it on YouTube or like Spotify or whatever. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go on each section and I'm going to break down each section and every sound and how I went about it, how my thinking process worked when it came to like putting all these different sounds together to make something that's modern, fresh, contemporary. So let's get into it. So this is the first section, this is the intro, and let's play back the whole intro and talk about it later.
You wanna win without trying, I know too well when you're lying, and you don't know you're dying. I wasn't with you, no, I wouldn't leave you here. Started drinking only cause of you. You fucked us up, it being no true. I know you're lying, cause you don't know but I am dying too.
Alright, so this is the intro of the song, which was very, very, very much inspired by Halsey. Of course, when you're listening back to this song, you might be like, what the doesn't sound like Halsey? Or maybe you're like, oh yeah, this is very pop. This is definitely inspired by Halsey. But the thing is that like in any way, I didn't copy anything. I didn't like steal anything from Halsey, but what I did is I got inspired from a song called 11 Minutes, its intro starts with some really, really nice and polished pop vocals, and what also got me inspired from that song was also chord progression. I'm using the exact same chord progression but in a different key. And then I was also inspired from Halsey's Badland as a sound, because if you take a listen to 11 Minutes, the song that I was inspired from Halsey, the intro, other than the vocals, the rest instrumentation is guitars basically, and this intro doesn't have any guitars, but what it has instead is a lot of synths, which I'm gonna show you each sound separately in a second. So for this intro, as a production and as a sound at its whole, I would say I was inspired more from her album Badlands. If you haven't listened to this album, by the way, it's amazing. It has amazing production. It's very dark. It's very alternative and pop at the same time. But the production is really good. And when I first listened to this album, I was like, hell yeah, why like not use some of these sounds for my own stuff? And that's what I did. And I'm gonna show you in particular what I mean. So this bass, it says 80s bass, but it's not an 80s bass. This title here is wrong. This is a saw bass. So this saw bass is a very characteristic bass sound that is prevalent in most of Halsey's songs. Badlands sounds like this. So it's a kind of aggressive but also dark sounding bass. The bass line is very simple, it just plays the root of every chord. But you can hear there's a filter going on, so there's a lot of movement, there's distortion, and it's a soul bass, and that is the bass of this section. But this section also consists of a lot of pads, which I'm going to show you as well. So this pad here, let's play it back. So this is one pad, very high pitched, but also very low pass at the same time, or high cut. So this is one synth. This is the lead, which is very interesting. So this lead was actually got inspired from a song from Annisokay. I don't remember which song it is, but it's from their latest album, and there is a song that has an intro with a synth that sounds amazing. I thought it sounded amazing, and I literally replicated this sound, and it sounds like that. And then there's another part which I actually made with my vocals. By the way, if you want to see how any of these sounds were made, like I have the patches for all of these sounds, and I have the raw vocal sample for this sound that you're gonna listen to. So if you want to see a tutorial on how these sounds were made, just comment down below and I'll make that happen for you. So let's take a listen to this very interesting vocal part, which I literally made with my voice. And this, on this layer, you can very clearly hear that this is my voice, but then I've layered the same exact sample with some effects to make it sound a little bit more like a pad. And together, actually I'm gonna solo the other version of the same sample to show you what it sounded like. So this is literally one vocal sample, it's me singing one note, and then when I layer all the pads together, just the pads, this is what the pads sound like. So I think this is the main instrumentation for the intro. And then I'm gonna go a little bit into the thought process and the production behind the vocals real quick, as fast as I can, because otherwise this is gonna take too long. So these are the vocals. I'm gonna just solo the vocals for you. Are these all of them? Yeah, these are all the vocals.
You wanna win without trying. I know too well when you're lying. And you don't know you're dying. I wasn't with you, no, I wouldn't leave you here. Started drinking only cause of you. You fucked us up, baby, you know it's true. Cause you don't know, but I am dying too.
Where to start from? Right, so songwriting wise, these vocals were very much inspired from Justin Bieber. I know a lot of you will be like, what the fuck? This is f***ing gay as f***. Why would you do that? Why? But then there's other people like me who actually think that Justin Bieber is an amazing vocalist and his vocal lines are actually really good. And whether you like it or not, this vocal line was kind of inspired by Justin Bieber. There, I said it. And I think this is very interesting because like the instrumentation is kind of like borrowed from like Halsey, then like there's a few Justin Bieber inspirations, there's like that Annisokay like lead synth that's going on, there's like those vocal pads. So one very interesting thing about the vocals here is the reverb that I have going on, that's going on and off all the time. So instead of automating like the reverb going on and off, I created a channel here, like an audio track with the exact same vocal line. So this is the main vocal line, right?
Without trying, I know too well when you're lying, and you don't know you're dying. I wasn't with you.
So you can hear this vocal line very clearly. It's a little bit wet. It has a little bit of reverb, but I wanted to make this super ambient, but without it being very much like at the back. So like what I did here was I copied the exact same track here on another track, which I'm gonna delete now, but this is what I did. I copied the whole track here and I literally sliced the parts that I wanted, parts of the vocals that I wanted to go into the reverb. So this is how I did that, and this is really nice because you can make the vocals really wet and really dry at the same time. And then there's a few harmonies here. I'm not gonna go through them. So let's go into the next part, which is the part that actually sounds like the bands that I mentioned at the beginning, which are bands like Bring the Horizon or like Memphis May Fire or Architects, like the very new stuff. This is not about their older stuff. This is for like the stuff that's been released the past year. So what I've done, let's play back the intro riff one more time so that you know what I'm talking about.
Like a star, you're hungry all the nights.
So this is the main heavy theme of the song. Songwriting wise, this was inspired from like I would say Limp Bizkit and like Tesseract, which is a weird combination when you say it out loud. Like how would it work, like Limp Bizkit and Tesseract? And the thought process behind that was like that I wanted to have like a very bouncy like new metal riff, but at the same time I wanted it to sound like super heavy and a little bit genty, meaning like it's a little bit more complicated than like a new metal riff, but even heavier, but not as complicated as like a gent or like prog riff would be. So yeah, when I combined these two things in my mind, this is what I came up with. And if we were to talk sound-wise, the inspiration for the sound of the guitars comes from bands like Bring Me, Memphis May Fire, and Architects, and I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about. So let's go on the guitars and let's solo everything that is playing the riff. Let me rephrase, everything that's playing the riff and it's not the bass. Right, so it's all of these layers here and here. So let's hear what these sound like. So when I solo the guitars, or everything that's playing the riff, because this is not only guitars, it's layered with synths. Some of the synths are playing the riff an octave below, so you could consider them as synth bass. But other than that, there's that other thing that Memphis May Fire and Architects do a lot, which is layer the guitars with an octaver, and that octaver reproduces the exact same thing an octave below. So these are the guitars that are, I'm gonna solo the guitars that just are an octave below. So you can hear these guitars are ridiculously low tuned. And I know some bands don't do like that. They don't like print a separate layer of the guitars like an octave below. They just use like a pitch shifter, or like an octaver, or like a whammy pedal, or like a pitch pedal, or whatever. But in this case, I thought it was gonna sound much better if I just had real guitars tuned that low, playing that riff. And that would be like really hard to do, because I would actually need to put bass strings on a real guitar, which would be probably destructive for the guitar. So what I did instead is I programmed the guitars, and then yeah, I just pulled them an octave below. That's what it sounded like. But on top of that, there's the synths that I'm gonna solo now. There's a lot of different synths playing here. I think it's 6 of them. Yeah, it's 6 of them playing the exact same riff all at the same time. So I'm gonna show you what the synths sound like. So these are the synths that are layered with the guitars and the bass actually. And I think that adding that extra layer of synths to the guitars, it just makes them sound super consistent, because the synths, as you can see, like some of them are literally flat. This layer and this layer here, they're not compressed, they're not anything. This is the actual waveform of the synth, and as you can see, it's super flat. It's just as flat as it goes. So this, to me, gives the mix a really nice consistency. It also adds like a very nice warmth that the synths, the analog synths, add. And then there's this layer in particular, which is more aggressive and has a lot more bite to it than the rest of the layers. And honestly, I think just when you put all of these together, they just make the riff sound massive and amazing. And then what's also super important to this riff and this mixing and production approach is having the bass really loud in the mix. I'm gonna solo the bass for you, but then I'm gonna show you how loud the bass is compared to the guitars. So this is what the bass sounds like by itself, and then I'll solo the guitars as well. So this is the rhythm guitars bus, and this is the bass bus. So if you take a look on their output, so the bass is clipping at minus 20.8, while the guitars are clipping at 21.2, which means the bass is actually slightly louder than the guitars. Now, I know a lot of people would be like, what? You're having the bass louder than the guitars? That's insane. But I did it, and it sounds amazing, and everybody in the band loves it. And this is one more time what it all sounds like together. And last but not least, in this section I want to go over the drums and the percussion that there is going on. So for like the drum sound in general, like as a whole, like how the drums sound in general, the inspiration came from Bring Me's last album, Survival Horror something, or at least at this time when this video is released, that's gonna be the latest Bring Me album. And the drums on this album aren't they are not super metal, they're not super heavy, and they're not super like tight in like that type of drums where it has like loads of top end. They're more of a rock, like a really big rock sounding kit. It is very compressed, but it's not as compressed as it would be in a metal, like in a super heavy metal like deathcore or like metalcore production. And to me, this rock sounding drum kit kind of makes the whole record a little bit more mainstream, I guess, and like a little bit more pleasing to like the common ear, rather than having drums that are super compressed and like super tight, and they have like a lot of top end and like that click in the kick and the toms. Let's take a listen to how the drums are sounding by themselves. Right, another thing that there is going on is some trap hi-hats, like closed hi-hats, and a tambourine at the same time, which is a thing that Wage War do a lot, and I really like it because, I don't know, it adds some kind of like bounciness and like grooviness to the riff, but at the same time it also makes it, in a way, it makes it a little bit less heavy and also more modern, which I kind of like for this riff. I think it works really well with this riff in particular. So let me show you what the hi-hats sound like. This is the tambourine. Yeah, this is a tambourine, by the way. This is why you should be naming your tracks, guys. So that was the tambourine, and then here's the hi-hat. So like very boring, very basic, literally just 8. Tambourine has some dynamics and some different types of hits as well. And I think this is all for this section, and then let's jump into the verse.